Hey guys, what is up? This is Yannis and welcome to the Empowered Entrepreneur Podcast. Today we have here with us Dr. Chris Zaino. He's an amazing person. She's an author, a speaker, an entrepreneur, and overall a hero. After winning Mr. America in 1998 and also after defying a deadly disease, she managed to establish one of the largest health and wellness clinics in the world that had been helping thousands and thousands of people around the world on their health and in becoming more empowered. Dr. Chris Zaino, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thank you so much, Yannis. Appreciate you having me and everybody watching. We're going to get a lot of good stuff today. So be ready.
Absolutely. For the people that don't know you, who are you? What do you do? And what's your story?
Yeah, I resurrect heroes. That's what I do, from the complacency of their secret identity so they can live heroic lives once again by expressing and experiencing true love now in every area of their life. Because I believe everybody are born with seeds of greatness and they're capable of doing heroic things. That's what I do.
I actually read the exact intro on your Instagram, and I'm very curious about what's your definition of I resurrect heroes?
Well, I resurrect heroes is, I believe that all of us, when we were children, we had all the greatest qualities we could ever want. We were bold, we were strong, we were energetic, we were playful, we were forgiving, we were loving, we were relentless, we were focused. We lived in vertical time, present time, not linear time, which we live in now. We were loyal. We always looked to the unknown and to the uncertainty. We were always up for play and fun. We questioned limitations, and the greatest question we always asked was why, because we were always seeking our own truth. And through teachers and preachers and dogmas in society, what happens? This beautiful, this childlike purity, which was the hero the whole entire time, gets put in a prison, and we start to live out other people's values. We start to do what other people want us to do. We start to look like other people want us to look. We start to act the way other people want us to act. We start to do these things, and here we put on a phony suit. We start to put on these masks, so these secret identities, and there comes a day when you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself anymore. And so if you're watching this and you feel envy, you feel jealousy when you look on social media, if you feel depression, if you feel numbness, if you feel disengagement, you're really grieving your potential. It's just that part of you that you're feeling to express. And I think people are searching for something that's been inside them the entire time. And that is which I call the hero, which I help resurrect out of people.
This is beautiful, and I totally agree. I think that people nowadays, they forget to resurrect themselves as well, and it's a beautiful thing that you're helping people to go towards that. But my question is, why do you think people do not live to their fullest of their potential? What is the thing that really stops them and hold them back?
Because we were taught what to think and what to do. We were told what to think and what to do. And so how many of the belief systems we have were because we were told it. We never experienced it for ourselves. When someone says, "Oh, you can't do that, Yannis," it's like, and you take their word for it. How do you know? You never tried it. So the thing is, a lot of times we're taking other people's opinions, we're taking them as truth, but they're not really truth. It's just their opinion. And we actually build the foundation to our life and we build the filter of our life through other people's opinions without really experiencing it for ourselves. And what happens when you learn it, when it's learned over time, it's tough to change. So when you're in your 30s and when you're in your 40s, like myself, you have to actually rekindle a relationship, which is the most important relationship. And that's the one with yourself. The relationship with yourself is probably, for many people, is the most underdeveloped relationship we have. And here it was actually the most important.
Yeah, nice. I agree also with the fact that you said that the best relationship of our lives is the one with ourselves. And at the end of the day, if you don't love yourself and you're trying to fill your own cup with other people, like you're going like towards somewhere that you don't really know where this is. So it's very important what you said, to resurrect ourselves, and what you do is amazing. And also, I know that you are a hero and you were able back in the past to become a winner and a victor and define a deadly disease. And I'm curious, because many people that might listen to this podcast are struggling, with problems like that and with diseases. How did you manage to overcome this? And what would you suggest to people that are going through similar problems?
Well, let me tell you my story. And when I tell you my story, what I'll do is, as I'm telling the story, I'll step out of it and I'll tell you the life lessons that you could apply right now, and everybody listening. you could apply in your finances, your marriage, your relationships, your business, and your health, right? So if I step out of the story, I'm going to go over principles I learned through a very difficult time in my life, so you don't have to. All right, agreed?
Yeah,
And so
100%. Let's go.
in 1998, I won Mr. America. So I looked a certain way and I felt a certain way. I was on the cover of the magazines. I had my degree of exercise physiology from the University of Central Florida. And because I lived in Florida, I got to be the trainer in Universal Studios for some of the greatest shows that we had that came out of there, like Xena Warrior Princess and Hercules and stuff like that. And so I was writing on the internet. The internet's starting to get well. So I had a very great career. And I found myself a couple years later just having this stomach issues, just going to the bathroom all the time, and thought it was just a stomach bug. And it never got better. I started bleeding every time I went to the bathroom. And imagine going to the bathroom and you see this coming out of the bathroom, blood, red blood. And then it got to the point where I'm getting nervous. So I went on Google, I typed in blood and stool, and the first thing that pops up is cancer. So I'm thinking to myself, my dad died of cancer. My grandfather died of cancer before I met him. And I'm thinking, I'm 26 years old. I can't have cancer. And, I did something a lot of people do. Watch this. I did this. I looked the other, I just disassociated from it. And a lot of times when we're stressed in our lives or we have an insurmountable problem, instead of going through it and experiencing the contrast, we do this. We look the other way and thinking that it'll get better, but it doesn't. So I disassociated. It was a very ignorant thing I did. And disassociating just made things worse. So nothing went away. I'm getting worse and worse. And I got to the point where this physical issue started becoming an emotional and a spiritual issue, such as, I'm going to the bathroom all the times. Then like I got to make sure there's a bathroom everywhere I go. I got to not go. I got to not eat after a certain time. So it's really taken over my life. And then one day I was in a department store, and in front of about 40 people, the bathrooms were locked, and I couldn't make it. I couldn't make it out of the store, and I lost my bowels in public. So if you want to think of one of the most defeating, depressive things you could think of, is imagine being in a place around people and you lose your bowels right in front of them. And it's not like you could hide it. Like for me, it's blood. So blood's coming through my jeans and freaking people out. And I'm just sitting there, just everything I was, my entire character, being the Mr. America, being the cover model of magazines, my entire character was stripped from me. I lost my identity, which was this Herculean, guy. And I had called my wife at the time, and she picked me up, and she took me to the hospital. I was diagnosed with an incurable terminal disease called ulcerative colitis. I was put on tons of medication, harsh drugs. The drugs were so bad that it actually destroyed my liver. I got medically induced hepatitis. So the drugs weren't working. The low-dose chemotherapy wasn't working. All these other medications weren't working. I went from about 230 pounds down to 158 pounds in 4 months. And then they're going to give me surgery. So they're going to take out my colon. I would have a colostomy bag the rest of my life. It would be $4,000 worth of medication every single month. They said I was sterile. I'd never be able to have kids. I'd have to adopt. Just the worst case scenario. Then they said, we don't even know if you'll make it through the surgery because all the drugs we gave you shot your immune system. And so I went home to see my mom, and my mom already lost 2 sons. I'm her 3rd son who's dying. And then she already lost my dad. So she writes out her prayer email to everybody, and everybody, hopefully the surgery goes well, except one person. It was my anatomy teacher from 10th grade. He goes, listen, I want to see Chris when he comes home. So I went home and I saw Mr. Bauman sitting there. I'm like, dude, what are you doing here? And he goes, I want you to go see my doctor. He's a corrective care chiropractor. It'll change your life. And to me, that was the most absurd freaking thing I ever heard in my life, because chiropractic, to me, if anybody hears it, like you might think it's more of like a muscle thing, like a massage thing. And so now let me step out of the story. When you're going through a tough time in your finances, in your relationship, in your health, or in your business, sometimes instead of avoiding it, like I said I did, I want you to embrace it. And when you embrace it, be very, very sensitive to the people, the words, the books you read, the movies you watch, the music you hear, because there may be a line, there might be a sentence, there just might be a word that's said in such a way, and you receive it in such a moment that it shifts you for the good. And This is my moment. I go, thanks so much, Mr. Brown. I go, but I went to the best, I went to the best in the United States, and they can't help me. I'm like, thank you so much. And I said this, I tried everything. See, when I said the words, I tried everything, I was literally saying, I have no more hope. I've done it all. I'm a victim. And a lot of times in our lives, in those areas, health, finances, relationship, or business, we get to a state of victimhood or hopelessness, not even realizing it. And you find yourself saying, well, I did it all. What more can I do? And then he looked at me, and this is what shifted me. He goes, well, you didn't try everything, because if you tried everything, you would have had your health. Well, I'm asking you who are listening, watching, any area you're stuck in, you didn't try everything, because if you tried everything, you would have had your result. You would have had the finance, you would have had the relationship, you would have had the health, you would have had the business, upgrade or raise. Right? So you didn't try everything. And that was enough to wake me up for a small bit, not forever, but for a small bit, to actually try and think, hey, there is another way, another thing to try. So I went to see this doctor that he told me to, and he talked to me about the spinal nervous system. The brain controls everything, which we all know. And they told me about taking care of the spine, which I didn't know you can. My spine was really damaged in my lower spine, and all the nerve roots coming to your spine went to my digestive system. And sure, they couldn't heal. And so I pointed at the doctor. I'm like, okay, so, it was a blind spot. And again, let me step out of the story. The reason why you're not making the results you want is because there are blind spots that are not your fault. What I mean by this, you don't know they're there. And it's never the things that you know that get you, is it? It's always the things you don't know. So it's very tough to know your blind spots because they're your blind spots. And this is where a coach, a mentor, a really good friend, someone who won't bullshit you, someone who could actually tell you the truth and see what's going on, that's the only way to get rid of blind spots. So he showed me blind spots. I ate right, I exercised. I didn't know how to take care of my spine. Boom, there was my blind spots in my nervous system. And I said, when am I going to get better? And he told me this. He goes, listen, as long as that damage is there, as long as that problem is there, your body's not in the environment to heal itself. But when you choose to correct your problem that you have that's affecting your life and your future and everything you ever want in your life, when you choose to correct that problem, then you'll get better. Then your body will be in the ability to heal itself. He's like, but the day and the hour, he's like, that's not up to me. So he's like, that's up to you and your body. He's like, but your body will heal as long as you don't quit on it, no matter how long it takes. So Yanni, what he did right there is, because I was a victim, because I wanted other people to take the load off of me. I wanted other people to do the work for me. What he did was like, oh, no. He goes, basically said, he's like, no one's coming to save you. You got to do it yourself. And so he put 100% responsibility on me. And I realized that in life, you know what? We own our life. We choose what's going to happen. So until we take 100% responsibility, stop being a victim, stop blaming circumstances, stop blaming the situation, say, listen, no one's coming to save me. I got to step up and do what I got to do. That's when things start to shift. And I wish I started correcting my problem. I wish I could tell you it happened in a week. It didn't. 3 months go by, I'm off half the meds. 5 months go by, I'm a lot better. 7 months go by, all the blood stopped, and I was free from a deadly terminal disease called ulcerative colitis. My body healed itself. And 16 years later, being healthy, being whole, having 2 beautiful boys I was told I would never have, going back to school to do exactly what that doctor did, and having and because of that, I never would have picked the profession of a chiropractor. Are you kidding me? That would have been a millionth on the list. I never would have done that, but I had an experience. And through that experience, I was able to take and learn and do what I have to do. So I had a message to tell hundreds of thousands of people that I've been able to help. And we developed the largest clinic in the history of the world and it wasn't because one man took the time to tell me. I used to say that. Someone used to say, aren't you glad that your anatomy teacher, aren't you glad that doctor told you this? Aren't you glad that they saved your life? And I said, they didn't save my life. They told me great information, but I had to put the action behind it. And we're in a day-to-day with social media and the internet. There is so much information. Everything you need to know to become a billionaire, everything you know to become the greatest spouse, everything you need to know to be the healthiest person, and anything you know to create the most amazing business, it's all online. It's all there. There's no lack of information. It's, are you willing to put the effort in? Are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to find and focus on that and do what it takes? So none of these doctors or anybody saved me. I saved myself. And the thing is, it's empowering to know that you have the ability to change your situation. But you know what? It's not going to come easy. You got to want it. You got to desire it to a point. Because when I lost my health, remember, when I lost my health, I know what I didn't want. I didn't want to be sick anymore. And when I know what I didn't want, you got to realize when you know what you don't want, that means you automatically have clarity of what you do want. No one thinks of it that way. When you know you don't like to be treated that way, you also have clarity on how you do want to be treated. When you know what it's like to not have enough money to afford a nice trip, and you know how that feels, you don't want to feel like that. So you know how you do want to feel. So you actually focus on what you do want and focus on that. And that'll give you the desire and the drive to do what it takes to get it done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah.
There are so many things I want to ask you right now. First
Yeah.
thing is regarding you going towards, becoming a doctor of what you're doing and creating this amazing clinic that is making an impact to so many people's lives every single week, as you said as well. I guess for you to go toward that road was because you had this problem, and I can kind of translate this like having a bigger and important why that push you to go towards there. And I know many people, and especially the entrepreneurs that are listening to the podcast and they're watching the video right now, they don't have a why, they don't have a vision, they don't have this purpose to go towards and change their life and other people's lives. How do you find your why? Or maybe it's your why finding you. What do you think about that?
I say something very different, because I know we're told find your purpose and find your why, and you start looking for it, and you get very frustrated. You start searching on something that you don't feel you have, so clearly you keep on creating what you don't have. If you're listening right now and you don't have your purpose, you don't have why, here's my answer to you, and I'm going to free you up on this. Don't worry, it's okay. You don't have to. You don't have to right now. And I know a lot of you, you're young, right? You don't have to.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to do the buffet of life. What's that mean? The buffet is life. Why don't you try a bunch of different things? And then the thing you do, and you'll know you'll do it. I'll tell you, you know why? Because as soon as you find that thing, you don't need to sleep anymore, because you're going to be excited about it. You forget to eat. The act of doing that thing creates energy. You know how people say like you won't be tired anymore, because the act of doing that thing creates more energy. It's like you're pulling from this universal force. It's all you want to talk about. It's all you want to read about. It's all you want to do. It's like when you find that thing that you become irrationally, there's the key word, irrationally, obsessively desired over, then there's no stopping you. Because automatically you'll outwork everybody, because that's all you want to do. It's all you want to think about. It's all you want to talk about, and it consumes you. And you have no, so as far as finding your purpose, it's like at that point, you don't have to find anything. It's remembering. So it's not about finding anything. It's about remembering. So what is it? You have unique gifts and talents. You maximize your superpowers. Embrace your hero mindset. Learn who you are. Remember, I said in the beginning, what was the greatest relationship that is actually the weakest developed in your life? The one with yourself. The one with yourself. So how can you find your purpose when you know more about everybody else? You have a relationship with everybody else, but the one that you don't have one with is yourself. So how are you going to ever find your purpose? You know what you do? You court yourself. You start spending time with yourself. You start personally developing yourself. You start asking yourself questions. And that gut intuition, that gut voice, make it very loud. And the only way it gets loud is by training it. It's training it. It's listening to it and saying, yeah, I should have listened to myself. And start seeking yourself for counsel. Build a relationship with yourself. And it's about remembering. It's about unlocking. It's not about getting. You already have it in you. It's already there. It's the little kid. It's becoming childlike again, not childish, childlike. When you were a kid and you wanted to be a superhero, when you put the cape on, or you want to be a princess, it's the same. It's tapping into that once again. And that's when you have because what's it going to be is when you do what you love to do, it's going to be fun. It's going to be easy. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be playful. It's going to be a lot of hard work, but you won't even realize it, because the reward is the act of doing it.
Yeah, it's the
So don't worry
journey. It's a journey.
If you don't have your purpose, quote unquote, if you don't have your why, it's okay. Because guess what's going to happen? Situations will happen. It will force it on you. You'll just be dissatisfied on so many things. And then so you just say, and you're just going to, and you finally just going to start learning who you are.
Beautiful. I totally agree. I think what you mentioned was incredible. And I also agree with this, because you can definitely, ask all these questions to yourself. But, the thing that you mentioned, like the buffet, like trying different things. And when you find a way, you will know that this is the thing, no matter what. This is what makes me feel alive. This is what keeps me up at night. This is what makes my heart sing. Like, it from the get.
That's it.
Yeah.
And let's say, how about Yanni? Let's do this. Let's say, well, how about if, how about this? I'll throw some things out there. Well, how about if supercars, if you're a guy, how about if supercars freaking make your heart sing, right? Or how about if a sport, soccer or football, European football makes your heart sing, and you're like, but I can't afford a supercar, or right now, or I can't play professional football. But it doesn't matter. It's like you could be a writer. You could be a sportscaster. You could
Amen.
be, you could work on the field. What do you, how cool would it? You could be a referee. How would it be cool? Like if I loved football and I put the white lines on the green, I put the white lines on the grass, I'd be happier than shit because it's something I loved. I was part of something. I was part of the team, right? So it's like, you hit it right. Like when you find something you love to do, find a way to work in it or on it. It's just like in any way, shape, or form and work your way in it. But as long as you're there, you're having fun the entire time. You get to be around it. So, if you like supercars, great. Learn to be a mechanic. You could fix them and you could drive them more than anybody else, right? So there's so many things you could do. Like, because the issue is this, everybody thinks, well, my hobby, I love to do my hobby, but how am I going to monetize my hobby? Because that's the ultimate, right? Your hobby is the thing you love to do. But you understand your hobby, you call it a hobby, there's someone making a crap load of money about your hobby, right? I mean, just think like, well, my hobby is working out. How can I monetize working out? There's plenty of things you could do to monetize that. And well, how? Well, you find the different ways. You could go online. You can make courses. You can do whatever you want. So whatever that is, your hobby, you can monetize it. And that's the goal. Everybody calls it a hobby. It's like your hobby is the freaking thing that you like that now you need to monetize it. So just tell yourself, well, I just got to monetize my hobby. For instance, in the States, how many people, their hobby was smoking weed, right?
Yeah.
And they were smoking weed, then CBD and cannabis and all this stuff become legal. They're friggin' millionaires, right? Because they know more about marijuana than anybody else. So they work in the store. They open up a store in Las Vegas to sell medical marijuana. They're crushing it, and it's something they love to do. So I could take anything that anybody loves to do, a hobby that anybody likes to do, good or bad, right? So listen here. When you talk to me, I'll tell you, there's no good or evil. There's no right or wrong. There's no judgment, guilt, or shame, because society will tell you, well, that was wrong, or this was evil, or this was good. No, no, no. If you love it, despite what anybody else thinks, and that's a hobby of yours, despite what anybody else thinks, you can make a living at it. How about the gamers, right? How about all these kids who played video games? You're like, stop playing video games. You got to get a job. And now they're filling arenas with 10,000 people to play Street Fighter. Guys, your hobby is what you love to do. Now you got to seek out counsel on how to monetize it. Like podcasting. You're doing a podcast right now. You know how many people monetize that stuff? You know how many people make a living podcasting? You know what? Stick to it. In 10 years and you have 2 million downloads a month, then it'll be a different story. But it's like, but you enjoy it. As long as you enjoy it, it doesn't matter how long it takes, does it?
Yeah, 100%. And especially nowadays that there are all those opportunities online, there are no excuses. Like, it's your responsibility to make it to work. And sooner or later it will happen, as long as you don't focus on, oh, I need to get the money now. Be patient and also enjoy the journey. This is also very important, I think. Another thing that you mentioned before was the fact that you came so close to death. And for me, the concept of mortality is something that I find it at least very motivating, even from a philosophical point of view. Stoic philosophers were talking about this. Remember that you will die. Steve Jobs was talking about this. And for you in your life, now that you don't have this problem, are you still reflecting on your mortality? Is the lesson still learned? Or how did that experience help you to change, let's say, your mindset a little bit?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you go through something like that, you enjoy life. And then I think it made me more impatient, not patient. Because it's like, I got to get some stuff done. I got to do it. And, and this could be just more of a spiritual aspect. Some people say, like, when you die, you go to heaven. Or some people say when you die, you come back. Regardless, I could tell you that you forget. Right. So if we did live before we live now, we forgot. You follow what I'm saying? So that means that it's not like I could come back again and pick up where I left off.
Yeah.
Right. So you start over, right? Or at least you forget. And so it's like knowing that's the way I go. And I'm like, well, whether I go to heaven or whether I, spend time in paradise or whether I come back, either or, now is my now. I'm not going to remember anything. So it's not like I'm going to, go there and pick up. So the thing is, like, so the momentum you have created in your life, it's if you want to improve on this direction, this is the shot you got. So regardless of what really happens after you're done, you only got now. And you only know, if you only got now and you only got another 50 years, um, you give it the best you got, because there's going to be a lot of learning lessons in there. So that means that's why I have a term called the potentialist. A lot of people say they're perfectionists, and when you're a perfectionist, you procrastinate. It's really a disguise for procrastination and being scared, right? Because everything has to be perfect before it happens. So you just wind up wasting time and not doing anything. But a potentialist, they do the best they can with what they got in the moment they got it. So it's like, boom, they do it, they go. Even though things aren't perfect, they do it anyway, and they learn and they learn. Everything's a learning opportunity. There's no failure. The only time you never fail and you're never defeated, as Napoleon Hill says, you quit.
Yeah.
You never fail and you never get defeated. You just quit. So when you realize that any quote unquote failure in your life or any defeat in your life, you didn't fail or weren't defeated. If you could go back and say, well, no, I wasn't a failure and I was not defeated. There came a point in that situation where I personally quit. And when you realize that, I'd be like, shit, I quit. So if I just would have lived a little bit longer, hung in there a little bit more, gave it another try, I may have had a different story. So when you realize that, wow, I really don't, I have a lot of time, but I also need a lot of time to learn through experiences to get to where I want to be. And like you said, it's this journey. It's a zigzag journey. Like it's an unknown journey, guys. It's all the unknowns. Like everybody's worried about how. I don't know how. I know what, I know the what, I know the why, but I don't know the how. And the how is going to look like this. It's going to be all, if you're listening, I'm zigzagging and drawing circles in air. It's a friggin' mess. It's not a straight line. You're going to zigzag because you're going to zig, and then you're going to get punched, metaphorically punched in the face by a contrasting situation. You're going to learn what you want. You're going to learn what you don't want. It's going to create clarity, and then the target might even move. But it's fine. It's fine. It's richness. That's true wealth. It's experience. It's wisdom, and it's the
100%.
best teacher because like man, when you get your heart stepped on or something happens and you feel that emotional learning experience, that's the greatest teacher in the world, if you learn from it. But if I told you, hey, listen, I don't do this because my experience, blah, 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 my words to you might not be as effective than you actually going through it and be like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. Right. So that greatest teacher is not school, it's experiences. And see, a hero, one of the parts of a hero is being courageous, isn't it? And courageous means that going towards the unknowns and going towards the what and the why, even though you don't know the how. That's what courage is. And you owe yourself to be courageous
Yeah.
because it feels really good.
It's beautiful. It's like listening to things that we've discussed in the past with other guests as well, and it's the same thing I say all the time. Failure is your best friend, and people call me crazy because I love failure to death. For me, is my best friend, and many people that might listen to the podcast might not know that. But when I was younger, I used to be a bullying victim. People used to mock me. People used to call me names. People used to throw me inside dumpsters, and I'm so grateful for all of those things, because through those processes I learned and I grew and I developed myself, and I made this insatiable want to always going towards what I want in order to not go back to where I was. And the reason why I want to help people right now is because back in the days people use me like that. So I want to help those people now to develop and grow. So yeah, like failure is amazing, and
Or
let
just
them
like you
call
said,
us crazy.
yeah, like you said, you were bullied, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so now here's the thing. In the micro of that, it was horrible. It sucked.
yeah,
And it probably caused a lot of emotional and mental issues going forward because there was resistance, right?
yeah.
But see, now that you got through it and who you are today, you have a story from real life experience, and now you earn the right to be able to help any other boy or girl that was ever bullied. And so it's like, what's your degree, what's your credibility? You're like, because I freaking went through it. So you are the most congruent, available um, person and qualified person to be able to share a message to help people, millions of people. So you see, so it's like looking back, horrible time, looking ahead, wow, I have a story and a platform, and no one could bullshit my story because it's the truth. And you could help so many people who are going through it so they don't have to take the years it took you to get well. and confident again. It might take them just a couple months, or they can, or just the fact that they know that there's other people too. It'll help them bring their confidence up as well, right? So, like, what people have to understand is because you had a tough time, I make a story of every learning experience I had, everyone. Like I was thinking the other day, how come some of the greatest moments of my life and exciting times in my life, they were also attached to probably the most ethically worst things I ever did as a human being. It's a tough thing to wrap your head around. How can I have so much excitement and joy on one thing, but yet it was when I was at my lowest form as a human being? And it's a story. It's a story. It has polarity to it. And that's why everybody who's watching, you have a story. You have a great story. It's a matter of pulling it out of you. And that story is something that the story is the idea of the story is when you tell your story that someone else could say, is basically say, me too, me too. And that person knows that they're not alone. And that's the greatest connecting force you could do. It's the sole way I built my practice to the largest clinic in the world. Because there's me, that story I just told you before. I tell that story a couple times a week, and I attract people to want to seek my services, and because they want me to lead their health, because they know I went through a health problem, they know I conquered it, and therefore they want me to help lead them do the same. See, so my trial, my my tribulation became my greatest truth and my greatest testimony. It was
Yeah.
the greatest gift I've ever was given. I could laugh about it, crap in my pants, but I could laugh about it now because it was never mine. It was an experience I went through. And because of that experience, it gave me every single thing you could ever want in your life. It gave me all the finances you could ever want. It gave me the relationships I want. It gave me the best business that you would ever want. It gave me the greatest health you ever want. Like that moment and what came from that moment allowed me to check off any single box you could ever want, desire on your goal sheet. And so maybe you're watching this right now and you're going through a tough time, or you went through a tough time, and you're seeing that as it's something that's holding you back. It's something that makes you less than. What if I told you that thing is going to be the key thing that gives you every single thing you ever desired in your life, if positioned correctly?
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Um, yeah, like my question here is basically, I want to ask you something about health as well, but before talking about
Yeah.
that, I want to ask you about, for the entrepreneurs that are listening to this right now, how can they apply this, having a story and being the hero of your own story, in order to grow their businesses?
Yeah. Well, it's connection. It's human connection. We're living in such a social media society that loneliness is actually one of the greatest problems out there. So we're living in this social media world, and the number one thing people are looking for is real human connection. So when you're able to, so your story, it's not an ad. When you tell your story, like you're in a business for a reason, right? Something inspired you. I told you why am I doing what I do? Because someone who does what I did helped me get my life back. Boom, right? And you understand it's real, right? So whatever that story is, or let's say we'll go back to let's say the supercar thing. Let's say you love supercars, you love Ferraris or Lamborghinis. Great. You go and you become a salesman there, and you tell them about the time when you were 5 years old or 4 years old, and you made your parents chase those cars around town, and you would make your dad or take you to these car shows, and you would always have them, and you would have posters of them, and your whole entire childhood, it's something that you always wanted to have, and you loved that car. Something did that symbol of the bull on a Lamborghini did something to you the certain way, and you knew at 5 years old you always wanted to be a part of that brand, right? Shit. I mean, come on. Versus a guy is like, yeah, you want this car? Here's the price. Notice the difference?
Yeah, huge difference. Huge difference,
You see,
100%.
listen, because story is context.
Yeah.
Facts are content. Context is what changes that story. So I could tell you that story. I could try to sell you a $300,000 car. You like it, or I could tell you, hey, you know what? When I was a kid, or let's say I helped someone develop a story the other day, and because that's what I do. People come and visit me, and we spend 2 days and we develop their story. He was a firefighter. I'm like, why were you a firefighter? And I got down to like when he was 5 years old, in the back of their home, like in the woods, there was a fire, and all these trucks and firefighters came in these superhero uniforms because you're 5 years old, and they put out this fire. and they save the day. And he goes, I remember that moment. That was the day I knew, hey, mommy, daddy, I'm going to grow up. I'm going to be just like them. Right. So when you when you tell a story, when you put your product, services, idea, when you take your product, the service, or the idea you're selling or you're exchanging for value, and you put that into a story, it changes everything. It changes everything. Tell the story. Don't sell the product. Create a story. Create an experience for that person. Have that person feel that story. Put them in that situation. Have them become the little child who always wanted ... Because I tell you right now, back to the supercar, if someone told me that story that then when they're a kid and their parents chased the cars, I'm like, yeah, I did too. Right? You see? So I'm like, wow, that's me too. And then this person has me and they're communicating with me at such a deep emotional level that, of course, they're going to help me find and reach my goal.
Yeah. And for the people that might say that, Chris, this is amazing, but I don't have a story. I don't know how to find my story. Any idea, any suggestion for these people?
Yeah, your life is your story. It's great. I'll give you an example. Both my parents were married when I was growing up, right? So I had married parents, and I have married parents, and they worked. They worked out of my house, right? And for some of you, you went through a divorce, or you only had one parent, or you went through, your dad was an asshole, right? Like whatever it is, it's like, you don't think I want to hear about that? That's all your story. Like we need, yeah,
Yeah.
it's all there. It's where you went to school. Your life is a story. I don't know, like, and the reason why you don't think you got a story is because you lived it, and therefore you take it for granted. But
Nice.
if I looked at your life and I looked at your life, I'm like, well, wait a second. What do you mean you raised you raised your two younger siblings because your mom had to go out and work full time? Wow. I mean, because you took it for granted because you had to. You had no other choice. You developed skills because you had to. You had no choice. And so what came easy to you or what had to be developed because of out of pure circumstance, is a talent, is an amazing story. It's something valuable to other people. So you're right. If you're sitting here listening saying, Chris, I don't have a story, that's very common because your superpowers and what you're good at come so easy to you and you developed them because you had to, that you don't even take merit of them. But again, remember, if you have a coach or a mentor that can see the blind spots and say, well, wait a second,
Yeah.
look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this, look at this. And you're like, oh, but that's nothing. I did that. I had to do it. That power, 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 story, story, story. It's all there. It's all there. It's about connecting with someone that could pull it out of you and see it. Or actually, if you want to, if you can't get a hold of me, write it out. Write out your life. Yeah, it takes a little bit of work. It's write out your life. And then when you look over it, you'll be like, wow, that was a unique story. That was a unique situation. And you start to be able to pull out some very relevant things.
Nice. That's a really solid advice for the people that are trying to figure out their stories. And, then they can be able to find out that they are indeed this hero within the story and be more empowered. That's beautiful. Also, I know that you are, and as we discussed as well, that you're a lot into health.
Yep.
And from all the videos of yours that I've been watching, I remember that you're talking about like three things that are concerning health: the mind, the faith, and the actual food that we're eating.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
could you share a few things about those stuff as well for the people that are listening right now?
Well, that's the things. It's I call it trauma, toxins, and thoughts. There's three things that you want your body to be functioning well with no interference, right? So
Yeah.
function is number one for me. I got to make sure my brain is getting all the messages to my body, and that goes through your spinal cord and spine. Number two, I got to make sure the food is correct. What is the food? Again, no interference. So is it organic? Everybody, when it comes to food, everybody should know where your food comes from because you really can't trust everybody's labeling and marketing. So if you eat meat, if you choose to eat meat or chicken, find a local farm that raises that and know how do you slaughter them. Is it humane? Is it, like whatever that is, what are they eating? Oh, they're eating food that's laced with chemicals or hormones. No, I don't want that. Right. So it's your body. It's the only vehicle you got in this life. So know what you eat. So put the right kind of fuel in your body, the way it should be. Then when it comes to fitness, you were created to move. I don't care how you do it. Just start moving. All right. Whether it's working out, yoga, do something. And then what was it? Function, food, fitness, finances. That's another one we got to talk about, because financial health is tremendous, guys. Because I'll tell you right now, everybody, no one addresses that, but think about it. When someone is financially struggling or worried, it is the number one cause of stress and fear, isn't it? Stress, fear, and worry. The number one cause of
Sure.
it has some type of financial thing, and no one really saw that. And then I finally saw it. I'm like, listen, let's talk about finances, because it seems to be the thing that stresses the shit out of everybody. So, and to me, the stress and the fear and the scarcity is more damaging to your health than having or not having the money, right? So it's like, we've got to work on that. So we got to get some type of security or something going for you. And that all adds up to your future. You know, your future is based upon all those previous variables being maximized.
Beautiful, beautiful. And for many entrepreneurs, actually, that I know and I've been working with, they are overworked and they just hustle. They focus on the grind because it's cool and because it's what Gary Vee says. And because of that, they neglect their health. So
Yeah.
based on those things that you just mentioned, for those overworked entrepreneurs, what would your advice be in order to restructure, kind of saying, their own life in order to get their health handled?
Well, discipline's the key to that. And when you look at Gary Vee, we got to see a couple things. Gary Vee does not show you his family on blogs for a reason, because he has boundaries, doesn't he? That's a sign of a boundary. He made an agreement. My family will not be seen. So his family is always there. You guys don't realize that. They're always around, even during the week, but the camera's not allowed to look at them or film them or get them on film. There's a boundary. So he has discipline and boundaries. He works out in the morning every single day. He works out, right? He has people bring him his meals to eat a certain way. So because he knows, if I discipline my body, if I work out, whether it be basketball or with weights, I know I'll perform better. I'll have the edge, right? There's the discipline, so all of the, and then you put all those things together. Now, what we talked about before, he absolutely loves what he does. Listen, it's not a grind at all to him at all. If you ever watch it, I'm using an example, but he's smart. Listen, it's never a grind because he loves what he does. And like we talked about, when you love what you do, you automatically outwork everybody. You automatically, because why? Because the act of doing that thing gives you more energy. The act of doing that thing makes you happier. It fulfills you. So why would you only want to work 4 hours? No, you want to do that all the time. It's fulfilling. So when you're in your flow, when you're in that zone, you quote unquote what they call hustle. But listen, I would never use the term hustle or grind for what I do, because it's so rewarding.
Yeah.
There's no grinding to it. There's no hustling to it. Do I work a lot of hours and work hard? Well, yeah, I guess I do. And I really do, but it doesn't feel, but if you told me to do something I didn't love to do, then I would say it's a grind. It's a hustle. It's killing me, because it would be me trying to just earn a living, right? So there's a difference between earning a living or earning a living and making a life. And so when you got to be careful when you see people on the blog saying to hustle and grind, it's a fancy term, but you're looking at people who absolutely are cut out and love what they do. And because of that, it's easy. It feels easy to them, even though it's a lot of hard work, because they love doing it. Versus we want that. We're like, well, maybe we got to work that hard, and you try to work that hard and you can't keep up and you think there's something wrong with you. No, there's nothing wrong with you. It just, you're trying to copy, you're trying to counterfeit, you're trying to be a counterfeit to somebody else. You can't counterfeit somebody else. You got to be honest to your own truth. And when you're honest in your own truth, you'll be at the same level as far as focus, intensity, health, discipline, because you want to do it so bad, you'll wake up early. You want to do it so bad, you go to bed late. You want to do it so bad, you'll find time to take care of your body, right? So when you want something so bad, then it all falls into place. But um, it's it's definitely that I see a lot of people that it's not cool to work a lot and be ineffective. There's a lot of hard workers,
Exactly.
but you're really busy, but you're really inefficient. You're not successful. So if you're going to work hard, and I did it, I tried it, I tried and I did freaking, you know, ream that whole social media thing. I had a private camera crew follow me around, all that stuff. And I realized that I made way more efficiency, way more impact, and way more income in my practice, in my brick and mortar, versus trying to be a celebrity superstar. Then I also realized this. The reason why it worked for Gary Vee or Andy Frisella or Ed Milet or Tony is because they built something massive, massive. And then people said, we want to hear how you did it. See, so they worked their tail off. They didn't say a word. They built something massive. And then people started coming to them saying, Grant Cardone, how do you blah, 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 and how do you do, because they had something that they built that actually was the business of their life. And all the things they do on social media is the thing that's their contribution back. They don't make the money. They make some money, of course, but they don't make nearly the money in all the social media stuff you see, because they made their money in the real estate. They made theirs already. Gary Vee made his already. He made his tens of millions of dollars. So that's why they're able to give from their abundance, and they don't care if it's free content. You know why? Because they're making money over here so much, or they made so much, they give free content. They don't care because they already made theirs and they just want to help you. But a lot of times people do the opposite. They try to do what they're doing on the social media, but they have nothing behind them. They're poor, right? So it winds up going upside down. And so that's why I tell people, shut up, go do something big and massive that people want to hear, and then be a superstar, you know?
Yeah, and of course, if you want to go in business just because you want to be a superstar, most probably your business will fail because it's not the most important, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I like the fact that you mentioned also the fact of having a team around you, because we like to call these people productive procrastinators, the solopreneurs who are just work just because they want to work, and they just change themselves, the banner of their Facebook page, they do all the editing, they send all the emails, they do all the content creation, all the blog posts, all the website development. But at the end of the day, if you're wearing all the hats, you're disorientating yourself and you're moving blindlessly towards somewhere, which is bad, right? It's important to also surround yourself with superstars, with rock stars, so that then you can move on towards something bigger with your team.
You nailed it 100%.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Now, I actually don't have any more questions. I just want to ask you the important 5 questions I ask to every entrepreneur who comes on the podcast, and I want to hear what you have to say about them.
Sure.
Number 1, who is your role model? And if you ever meet him, what's the question you're going to ask him?
All right. So as I answer this question, I'm doing it to be an example so everybody gets to this point, but in no way is it, I'm pre-framing. There's no way it is out of arrogance. Your greatest role model has to be yourself. It has to be. It has to be the old you. It's like when I look back and see the younger version of me and the shit I went through and the stuff I had to learn, man, that was inspiring because it got me where I am here today. And the future version of me is going to see me now in my 40s as the role model. Because, wow, he had to go through some tough times. He had to learn some stuff, took some hits, made some courageous decisions.
That's nice.
Wow, I'm so glad. So when you could be able to look back at your circumstances and your past and see how that version of you becomes your role model because it took all the hits for you to be who you are today, then that's that. And as far as what I would ask that person, I would just appreciate him. I wouldn't even ask him a question, because I would just appreciate him. But if I had to pick a person besides myself, I would probably say Sylvester Stallone. And I'll tell you why. Because that guy is 74 years old or 75, and he continues to create all the time. It has nothing to do with money. He is a freaking juggernaut and a creator. The Rock is the same way. These guys they're amazing because they realize they are so abundant. They realize that we are human beings and we were put on this earth to evolve and expand at all costs. They never stop. They create, they expand, all different areas, whether it be, The Rock has a tequila company. He has a movie company. Sylvester Stallone, he's a painter. He's a director. He's a writer. Making movies still. Why? Because they're creators and they really nailed life. We are here to create and build and expand and relate. And it's so damn inspiring to me. And I wouldn't ask him a freaking thing. I would just stay in their presence and watch them and try to feel and think and just see how they think. Because look at that. Isn't that crazy? 75 years old and actually more active now than when he was in the peak of his career. It's insane. Plus, it's motivating knowing that I can't wait to be 75 because then my mental and spiritual capacity will be triple what it is now. And my impact will be triple that it is now. So that's inspiring to me.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Second question is regarding habits. Any daily habits, any morning routine that you follow, and yeah.
Yeah, there's always habits. My freedom comes through my discipline because people think they want to do that. I want to make money so I could be free. But I noticed that the area that there is freedom in people's lives is actually becomes their prison. I'll give you an example. When a patient comes into me with diabetes or health issues, these people thought they had freedom in eating whatever the hell they wanted to eat. They thought they had freedom in that. And in that freedom created disease in prison. If someone thought they had freedom in their finances and they could just spend and spend and spend, it winds up becoming their prison, doesn't it? So we have to understand that the goal is not freedom.
Yeah.
The goal is becoming extremely disciplined, and through discipline, you attain freedom and freedom and structure and control that way. So of course, so in the morning, I have my whole morning routine. I wake up, I do some detoxification things. I do cardio. When I'm doing cardio, I'm listening to a podcast. So I'm learning as I'm doing cardio. And then I come home, I read, I meditate for 24 minutes. Then I shower, I eat breakfast. I write down my goals and my visions every single morning and try to every single night, but I usually fall asleep. But every single morning, I get about a 2 hour or 2.5 hour morning routine. And you might be thinking, well, how the hell am I going to just start doing that? You don't. 8 years ago, it started with 5 minutes. And here was my 5 minutes. I used to wake up and run, right? The alarm goes off, I'm haywire. So the day owned me. And then I remember 8 years ago, I set my alarm, right? When my alarm went off, I stood up, went to the edge of the bed, and sat there for 5 minutes. And I planned the day for 5 minutes in my head. And when I started planning the day, I started getting intention. What was happening today? How I'm planning it. Then after a couple of weeks, I saw some of the things I would envision started happening. So I'm like, oh my God, there's something to this thing. And then I slowly added a little thing to my morning routine. So I tell everybody, if you want to start, just start with 5 minutes. The clock goes off, go to the edge of the bed, and just kind of go through plan the day before you start it. Live the day in your mind before you start it. And just that little exercise there is a great way to get going.
That's great. That's a really nice advice. And it's crazy. Everyone who comes on the podcast is having a morning routine. And I believe it's one of the foundations to become successful in everything you do in any area of your life. It just works like magic. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, great. Third question, your favorite quote?
No one is coming to save you. That's my favorite quote. Because sometimes in my life, when I'm being a little bitch, that's the thing that gets me out of it. No one's coming to save me. And that was actually, I got that from Nathaniel Brandon. He was a very great counselor, very well known. And people, when they were in a victim state, they used to come in all panicky and victim, and because they're looking at him as the savior, right? Your counselor. And you just tell them, no one's coming to save you. But he goes, but they're like, but you're here. It's like, yeah, I'm here to tell you that no one's coming to save you. So it makes you realize you're the resourceful one. You're the one that's going to have to pull yourself out of it. So that's my favorite quote. I have many of them, but that's a big one. No one is coming to save me.
Beautiful. Totally agree. It's up to you at the end of the day, right?
And the hero believes that too. A hero knows that no one's coming to save us. And so that means they have to act.
Boom. Nailed it. Yeah. 100%. That's so true. Advice to younger Chris, to like a 19-year-old version of yourself.
Yeah. I would put my hand on his shoulder, and my advice would be like, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for what you've done. Stay faithful, because I couldn't change anything, man. I had to do some of the stupid things I did at 19 to put myself in a situation to get my ass handed to me so I could learn something. I couldn't go back to the 19-year-old and change anything, because then I wouldn't be who I am today, which I wouldn't trade in for the world. You follow what I'm saying? So it's like,
yeah,
it wasn't just the positive things. Like if I went back at 19 years old and I gave myself the winning lottery numbers to become 100 millionaire at 19, I would be a very undeveloped, depressed individual with a lot of money.
Yeah.
Right. So I wouldn't take any, I couldn't. My advice would just be, thank you for being faithful. Thank you for everything you're about to go through. It's going to turn out great. And just know that when it gets tough, like everything you're going through is going to make you even, it's going to actually set the stage for something even more beautiful than you ever thought.
Nice. That's great. Beautiful. Okay. And my last question. Here on the Important Entrepreneur podcast, we're basically having entrepreneurs that want to become better in everything they do. They want to become more productive. They want to become more motivated. They want to make more money. What would your advice to the people that are listening or watching this podcast be? Your only one advice. What would that advice be?
Easy. Apprentice. Find someone who's doing what you want to do the way you want to do it, and go to them and say, I'll work for you for free. I'll do whatever you like. It's easy. Find someone who's doing exactly what the hell you want to do, and say, listen, and learn from them. Apprentice them. Work for free. It doesn't matter, because you will learn so much, save so much time, so much money. And here's the thing: you're young. Here's the big thing, guys. Here's the big secret. When you're busy chasing freaking money, you're going to realize time was the most important thing the entire time. You're going to realize, holy shit, I was chasing stuff and I didn't realize that time was the damn most important thing. I wasted so much freaking time. So when you realize, if you're young and you're like, I want to do this, and you find someone doing that and you kiss their ass, you work for them, you do whatever it takes, even pay them to work for them, to learn what they learned, so you could shrink time. The millions they lost, you never have to lose that. The wisdom they gain from trial and error, you get to gain that. And it literally does this to learning curve, and you'll reach where they're at, and then you'll supersede it. So apprenticing is it's the easiest, most direct, efficient thing you could ever do. I really think it is the perfect answer to anything you want to do in your life. I would like to do this. You don't go to school. You don't learn it from a book. See, that's what society tells you. Go to school. No. You go to a person. For instance, there's many people, if you want to be a top real estate investor, there's a lot of real estate investors, but some are better than others, right? So you don't go to school, and you go to a person, because a person brings their experience. Remember, that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you great. It's not the knowledge gets you only so far. It's trust in yourself, trust in your instincts, like a Michael Jordan, like he trusted his instincts. Now I'm saying, if you say, I want to be a professional basketball player, and you ask Michael Jordan, he could tell you some things, but you got to put in the work, right? And the thing is, you'll get better. You might not be at his level, but you'll get better. So at least if you talk to someone who's doing something similar to your dream or what you want to do, and you'll definitely, for one thing, you'll get better very quick. You might not go to their level. You might go to your own unique level or past their level, but apprenticing is going to be the best thing in the world.
Beautiful. Dr. Z, thank you so much for all those beautiful insights. Now, for the people that want to stay in touch with you, want to ask you a question, want to learn from you, what's the best place for them to stay in touch with you and your content?
Well, one thing, Aman, you could check me out. Well, let's do this. I have a freebie for you guys. It's called the Hero Secret Sauce. I study heroes. That's what I do. I'm a hero consultant, right? So I bring it out of you. So I studied heroes and amazing people, and I distilled it down into 5 main core principles that you could actually apply to your life right now, today, and start winning. And so if you go to imhero.com/secret. So it's imamhero.com/secret. You'll be able to get my free, you'll be able to download for free in the next 24 hours, my Hero Secret Sauce. You'll get some workbook pages, some videos, some PDFs. And I'm telling you, it's a quick win. You'll be able to apply it. It's very fast wins. And also, if you want to keep the conversation going, just go to Instagram at Dr. Zaino, DRZAINO, or Facebook, Dr. Zaino again. But Instagram is where, you could get some really good stuff. And remember, like I said, I know your time is valuable. You just heard me. Valuable is huge. So understand that any bit of my content that you see is going to be just like this. It's only going to make your life better, or it's going to make you ask yourself a question to see things more clearly and shift you 1% in the right direction. That because there's so much shit out there. I get it. but you can be assured that when you go to my stuff, it's just going to be uplifting, inspiring. It's going to make you better. And then I answer all the comments. You put a comment, that's me answering. It's not somebody else. Any of the private messages, that's me answering, nobody else, because I make you a very high priority to be able to have personal contact with you. Because like I said, in a society of loneliness and people craving human connection, social media, I want to be able to connect with you guys on a personal level.
Yeah.
That's why I make sure that I answer everything.
Amazing. Guys, you will find all those information above or below in the description. Chris, thank you so much for your time. It means a lot. And for you that stayed till the end, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week for another episode.